The hall of the Galactic Biology Academy smelled of ozone and nervous sweat. Rows of alien students sat perfectly still, their pale eyes fixed on the hologram at the front. The projection showed a creature from a death world, its teeth like polished glass and its muscles coiled tight beneath black fur. The instructor spoke with slow, practiced calm, warning the class that even a single bite from such an animal could end most species in seconds. The young aliens nodded, recording every detail. They thought they understood danger. They did not. At the back door, a sound echoed, a metallic hiss followed by heavy footsteps. Every head turned. A human entered, tall, relaxed, wearing a plain gray hoodie with an Earth insignia stitched to the sleeve. At his side walked something massive and silent. It looked like a wolf but larger, its fur gleaming steel blue under the lights, eyes bright gold and unblinking. The creature scanned the room the way storms watch coastlines, slow and sure, knowing nothing can stop them. The instructor froze. The hologram flickered away. "Class," he said, voice trembling, "we appear to have an unregistered specimen present." The human smiled faintly. "He's not a specimen," he said. "He's my partner," murmurs rippled through the alien students. Some whispered warnings from their data tablets, Earth predators classified as high risk. Others scooted their chairs backward, antennae twitching. The wolf thing sat beside the human's leg, perfectly still, tail tapping the floor once every few seconds like a clock counting down. The human took a seat on the floor, cross-legged, easy and calm. The predator settled next to him, resting its massive head on his knee. Every movement was quiet, deliberate. No threat spoken, but one understood. The instructor tried to regain authority. "Human," he said, "for your own safety and that of the class, please restrain your creature." "He is restrained," the human replied, "by trust." The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut air. The aliens exchanged uncertain glances. Trust with a death world carnivore? None of them could imagine such a thing. One curious student, a slender being with turquoise skin and wide silver eyes, raised a trembling hand. "Excuse me, human. That animal is from your world, yes? Why would you keep such a thing near you?" The human scratched behind the beast's ear. "Because where I'm from, danger isn't something we avoid. It's something we learn to live beside." The predator closed its eyes, rumbling softly, a sound between a purr and distant thunder. The vibration rolled through the room. Some students flinched. Others held their breath. The instructor tried again, forcing composure. "We were discussing apex predators," he said. "Would you care to provide first-hand insight?" The human nodded. "Sure." He looked around the room slowly, making eye contact with each alien. "You've studied our data files. You think you know how apex predators behave. But all your charts miss one thing: intent. Every predator hunts because it must. But humans, we partner with predators because we choose to." He gestured to the animal beside him. "This one's name is Rex. He doesn't attack unless I tell him to. He could tear through this room before anyone stood up, but he won't. Because he knows me. He trusts me. And I trust him." An uneasy wave passed through the students. They'd studied behavioral control, but nothing about mutual loyalty between species. To them, a predator was a weapon or a wild thing, never a friend. One student whispered, "That's impossible." The human's pet lifted its head, nostrils flaring. A low growl vibrated across the floor, subtle but undeniable. The student snapped his mouth shut. The instructor swallowed hard. "Fascinating," he said. "You claim a predator can be domesticated?" "Domesticated?" "No," said the human softly. "Respected." He rose to his feet. The creature rose too, mirroring him. The symmetry was perfect, two forms moving as one. For a heartbeat, the aliens saw not a man and a beast, but a single living unit, something ancient and efficient. The instructor tried to continue the lecture, but the words stumbled out half-formed. The class wasn't listening. Every gaze followed the human and his companion as they walked to the front of the hall. The predator's claws clicked lightly on the metal floor, a rhythm of controlled strength. The human looked at the holographic control panel and tapped it. The screen flashed to a new image, a massive reptilian monster once recorded as the deadliest creature in the Orion sector. The aliens gasped. The man just smiled. You rate this thing as an apex. On Earth, we'd call it lunch for something bigger. Rex's ears twitched. The creature tilted its head, watching the projection with mild interest, as if recognizing prey. Some students instinctively stepped back even though the image wasn't real. The human continued, his voice quiet but firm. You study predators because you want to understand fear. But humans study them to understand survival. Every life on Earth fights every day just to see the next sunrise. That's what shaped us. That's why we walk with monsters, and they walk beside us. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, from the back row, a mechanical beep sounded. One of the students' devices scanning Rex. The result popped up on its display. Threat level, undefined. Analysis incomplete. The student frowned, confused. Undefined? He whispered. The human turned slightly, noticing the flicker of light. Yeah, he said, your system doesn't know how to measure him. He's loyal. The alien students didn't move. Even their breathing seemed hesitant. The beast turned its gaze toward the nearest wall, nostrils flaring as if catching some invisible scent beyond the metal. The human followed its look and frowned. Something's coming, he murmured. The instructor blinked. Coming? What? Before he could finish, the walls trembled. An alarm blared, a deep, resonant tone that shook dust from the vents. Emergency lights turned the room red. The holograms vanished. Doors sealed shut. The intercom cracked with static. Unregistered life forms detected near the academy perimeter, said a robotic voice. Security units deploying. Every student froze. The instructor shouted orders, trying to calm the panic. The human crouched beside Rex, eyes narrowing. Not good, he whispered. They're already inside! The predator's lips curled back, teeth flashing like blades under crimson light. Its fur bristled, muscles tensing. The human straightened, eyes focused on the sealed doors. Guess the lesson's not over, he said quietly. Rex growled once, low and steady, waiting for his command. The academy full of scholars who studied predators was about to meet one. The red glow pulsed through the academy corridors like a heartbeat. Every alien in the classroom sat frozen, antennae stiff, skin flickering with fear patterns. The intercom voice repeated its cold message. Unregistered life forms inside perimeter. All students remain in place. The human didn't move. His eyes stayed locked on the sealed doors. His predator, Rex, was crouched low, fur standing along his spine. The air vibrated with that deep growl again, but this time it wasn't a warning. It was hunger mixed with purpose. The instructor struggled to stay composed. Security will handle this, he said, trying to sound confident. Please, human, control your animal. The human's jaw tightened. If security could handle it, the alarm wouldn't sound this long. He touched Rex's collar, whispering something low. The beast's growl dropped to silence, every muscle coiled and ready. A sudden thud hit the main door, metal bending inward. Another strike followed, harder. Cracks appeared along the reinforced seams. The alien students gasped and clung to their seats. The human simply stepped aside, pulling the predator back a few meters. Everyone down, he said softly. You don't want to be standing when it opens. The door exploded inward, smoke and sparks filling the air. Through the haze crawled something massive, 8 limbs, armored skin, and rows of wet, serrated teeth. The creature's hiss echoed through the room like broken machinery. The instructor stammered, That's impossible. That species was extinct. Guess it didn't get the memo, the human replied. The alien predator spotted movement. Students, terrified and unarmed. It screeched and lunged forward. Desks shattered. Chairs flew. The aliens scattered in panic, but the human didn't move. He simply touched Rex's head and whispered one word, Go. Rex leapt. The sound was like thunder cracking inside metal walls. His claws dug deep into the creature's armor, ripping through layers that no weapon had pierced before. The alien beast screamed, spinning violently, but Rex didn't let go. He tore at its throat with frightening precision. A blur of motion faster than the eye could follow. Blood, thick, dark, and glowing faintly, splattered across the floor. The massive attacker fell, shaking the ground with its final twitch. Then silence. Rex stood over the corpse, chest heaving, fur slick with alien fluid. His eyes burned with golden fire, but when the human whistled softly, he turned and patted back, calm again. He sat beside his partner, tail thumping once. The room was chaos. Crushed furniture, terrified students, alarms still flashing. The human crouched and ran his hand down Rex's neck. "Good job," he murmured. The instructor stared at them, speechless. "You controlled that thing. You made it stop." "I didn't make him," said the human. He decided the job was done. The aliens were whispering among themselves now. They had just watched a human and a predator move like a single organism. The textbook lessons about Death World savagery suddenly felt childish. One of the braver students, the turquoise-skinned one from before, stepped closer. "You saved us," she said quietly. "Why?" The human shrugged. "Didn't plan to let something eat my class." Outside the classroom, echoing roars shook the hallway. More creatures, dozens, maybe hundreds. The human's expression hardened. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small metallic device that unfolded into a glowing tablet. Strange earth symbols danced across it. He glanced at the instructor. "Your perimeter's breached in 3 more sectors. Those things aren't random. They're drawn by pheromones from the Academy's research vault. Someone's experiment got loose." The instructor's face turned pale gray. "You can read our systems?" "Your encryption's child's play compared to ours," the human said. "Now, unless you want your campus turned into mulch, I suggest we move." The aliens looked at one another, paralyzed between fear and disbelief. The human sighed. "Fine," he muttered. "Stay here if you want." "Rex, guide mode." Rex's eyes shifted from gold to icy blue. The beast trotted ahead, nose to the ground, scanning the air. The human followed, calm and steady, while terrified students fell in line behind him like hatchlings following a parent. They moved through smoke-filled corridors, passing broken lights and the smell of burning metal. Every sound echoed too long, like something was breathing down their necks. At one turn, the turquoise student whispered, "How are you so calm?" The human answered without looking back. "You get used to danger when your planet tries to kill you every week." Rex halted suddenly, ears perked. The human raised a hand, signaling silence. Ahead, the corridor opened into the Academy's main atrium, now a battlefield. Dozens of creatures crawled through shattered windows, their bodies slick with fluid, eyes glowing red. Security drones fired plasma bursts, but the monsters tore them apart like paper. The aliens froze in terror. The human just studied the scene, calculating. "Too many to fight," he muttered. Then his hand moved to Rex's collar again. "We'll distract them. You all get to the evac tunnel behind the lab wing." The instructor started to protest, but the human's tone ended the debate. "Move when I say move," Rex growled low, waiting for the command. The human whispered something too soft for anyone to hear. The predator bolted into the atrium, a streak of gray fury and muscle. The nearest monster barely turned before Rex hit it like a missile. The sound of bones snapping echoed. The aliens flinched. Then the human followed. No armor, no weapon, just moving with that terrifying confidence unique to his kind. He picked up a fallen drone's blaster, adjusted it once, and began firing with perfect precision. Every shot dropped a target. He wasn't fighting for glory. He was buying time. From behind the shattered glass, more creatures poured in, crawling down the walls. The alien students hesitated. The turquoise one shouted, "He said move!" They ran. The human didn't look back. Rex circled him like a storm, silent, efficient, unstoppable. Together they cut a path through chaos, and for the first time, the aliens understood what it meant when Earth called someone an apex. Smoke rolled through the Academy's shattered atrium. Plasma burns glowed on the walls, the air thick with the smell of metal and fear. Behind the wreckage, the surviving students hurried down the evacuation tunnel. Only the turquoise-skinned girl, the instructor, the human, and his predator stayed behind. Rex's fur was streaked with alien blood, but his eyes were sharp, scanning every shadow. The human crouched beside a broken console, fingers moving across alien symbols as if they were his native language. The instructor finally found his voice. "Human, you act like you were waiting for this." The man didn't look up. "Because I was." The girl stared. You knew? He nodded slightly. Not the details. Just that someone in this academy was playing with DNA they shouldn't even look at. Earth warned the council months ago. They ignored it. The console beeped. He frowned. And now their experiments calling for backup. Backup? The instructor whispered. The ground trembled. From somewhere deep below, something roared, a sound so huge that the lights flickered. Dust fell from the ceiling. Rex stood, hackles high, growl low like a warning thunder. The human rose, too, sliding a small metallic disc from his sleeve. It unfolded into a pulsing orb of light. Signal jammer, he muttered. Won't last long. The turquoise girl swallowed hard. What happens when it fails? Then the real predator arrives. The instructor's breathing quickened. We need to leave! The human didn't move. You can, but if that thing gets out of this station, you'll have a galaxy-wide extinction event before your next semester. The girl stared at him, trying to understand. You're not a teacher, are you? He smiled faintly. Wasn't on the schedule. Before anyone could respond, a blast shook the corridor behind them. The ceiling cracked, metal beams snapping like bones. Through the smoke, another creature crawled in, bigger, armored, dripping acid from its claws. Rex launched forward before the human could speak. The two collided midair, rolling in a blur of claws and teeth. The sound of ripping metal filled the corridor. The alien beast struck again and again, but Rex moved with lethal precision, biting deep, twisting, crushing joints. The girl could barely follow the motion. It looked like a storm made of fur and light. The instructor grabbed the girl's arm. We can't stay! But the human held up a hand. Wait. He stepped closer to the fight, eyes fixed. The alien beast pinned Rex against a wall. The predator's claws dug deep, but Rex didn't cry out. Instead, he turned his head and sank his teeth into the creature's throat. The scream that followed was short and final. When it ended, Rex stood limping slightly, blood running down his side. The human walked up, wiped a smear of blood from the animal's fur, and whispered something soft. The beast pressed its head against his shoulder like a child seeking comfort. The instructor's fear shifted to something else, disbelief, maybe even respect. He listens to you, he said quietly. Not from fear, from trust. The human didn't answer. He just looked at the console again. The signal's still leaking, he muttered. We have maybe 15 minutes before the main one wakes up. What main one? The girl asked. He turned to her, eyes cold. The Alpha. The reason I'm here. The ground shuddered again, harder this time. Cracks split the floor, glowing with blue light. Far below, something enormous moved. Something breathing. The human clipped a small device to Rex's collar and pulled a compact rifle from his pack. Get the rest of them to the escape pods, he said to the girl. Seal the tunnels behind you. You'll die, she said. He almost smiled. Maybe, but if I don't, everyone else will. Rex's growl deepened. The sound vibrated through the metal. The human crouched beside him, hand pressed against the beast's neck. Ready? Rex's eyes glowed gold again. The floor split open. From the darkness rose the true nightmare. 10 meters tall, plated in armor that shimmered like glass, 6 burning eyes, and jaws that could crush tanks. The air went cold. The alien instructor dropped to his knees, muttering something in terror. The human only whispered, Beautiful! The creature roared, and the force of it shattered the nearby walls. The girl screamed. The human didn't move. Rex, he said softly. And then both of them charged. The floor cracked under the weight of the creature as it rose fully from the pit. It was a nightmare made of bone and armor, its 6 burning eyes focused on the only 2 living things in the room that didn't cower, the human and his predator. Rex's fur bristled like static fire. The human stood beside him, calm, breathing steady, his rifle held low. Around them, emergency lights blinked, shadows twisting like living things. The alien instructor and the girl were hiding behind an overturned console. We can't fight that, she whispered. The human didn't answer. He was studying the way the monster moved, the rhythm of its breathing. Every motion told him a story, how it thought, how it killed, how it feared. The creature's roar hit like a physical wave, shaking the walls. Rex bared his teeth and stepped forward, but the human touched his shoulder. "Wait!" He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small black capsule, pressing it to the side of his rifle. The weapon hummed to life, glowing faint blue. "All right," he said quietly. "Let's end the lesson." The alpha beast lunged. The impact was like an explosion. The human dove sideways, rolled across debris, and fired into the creature's chest. Plasma bolts flared bright, burning through armor but barely slowing it. Rex hit the side of its neck, jaws locking on hard. The monster screamed and swung its head, throwing the predator across the room. Metal shattered where Rex landed, but he was already back on his feet, bleeding but unbroken. The human ran toward him, sliding another charge into the weapon. The girl shouted, "You can't kill it!" "Didn't say I'd try," he shouted back. "I'm just getting its attention." The creature roared again, eyes glowing hotter now, blue fire burning from the cracks in its armor. It turned toward the human, recognizing the threat. That was what he wanted. He tapped his wristband, activating the device he'd attached to Rex earlier. A faint pulse filled the air, like the hum of invisible thunder. Rex's pupils narrowed. The beast straightened, posture shifting. Not just an animal now, but a predator remembering what it was made for. His growl rolled low and deep until the walls themselves seemed to shake. The alpha lunged again, claws swinging like blades. Rex darted under the strike, faster than anything his size should move. He slammed into the alpha's leg, claws tearing through joints. The larger creature stumbled, roaring in pain. The human sprinted forward, firing into the exposed wound. Blue plasma burned deep into flesh. The smell of scorched armor filled the air, but the alpha was still moving. It swung its tail, a whip of bone and spikes, and the blow sent the human flying into a wall. His weapon clattered away. He hit hard, vision blurring, ribs screaming. The turquoise-skinned girl cried out. She tried to run to him, but the instructor held her back. "No, you'll die out there!" The alpha turned toward the fallen human, eyes burning bright. Rex howled, a sound not of fear, but fury. He leapt again, slamming into the monster's face. Claws dug into one of its eyes, tearing it out in a burst of blue fire. The alpha thrashed wildly, smashing walls and throwing sparks across the room. The human forced himself up, gasping. His vision swam, but he smiled anyway. "Good boy," he whispered. He grabbed a fallen plasma cell, overloaded it with a flick of his wrist, and threw it toward the alpha's chest. "Rex, down!" he shouted. Rex dropped instantly, diving for cover as the cell detonated. The explosion lit the chamber white. The blast tore armor apart, fire rolling through the room like a storm. When the light faded, the alpha was still standing, half its body burning, one arm gone, still snarling through broken teeth. The girl whispered, "It's impossible." The human coughed, limping forward. "No," he said softly. "It's just angry." The beast roared and charged one last time. The human didn't back away. He pressed a button on his wristband again, the same frequency pulse. Rex's eyes flared bright gold, and he moved. Faster than sound, faster than thought, the predator launched upward, straight into the beast's open mouth. There was a crunch, a flash, and then silence. For a heartbeat, the world froze. Then the alpha shuddered, gave a final breath, and collapsed, shaking the ground. Smoke and heat filled the air. The girl covered her mouth. The instructor could only stare. From the wreckage, Rex crawled out, limping but alive. His fur was burned, one ear torn, but his tail still wagged once when he saw his human. The man smiled weakly, kneeling to meet him. "Told you we'd win," he said. Rex leaned against him, heavy and warm, and for a moment, the galaxy's deadliest predators looked small. The girl stepped closer, voice trembling. "You could have run! Why didn't you?" The human looked up at her, eyes tired but steady. "Because someone had to teach this place what real control looks like." The instructor swallowed hard. "And what is that?" The human glanced at Rex. Mutual respect. A faint laugh escaped him, half pain, half pride. Then he stood, wiping blood from his cheek. Lesson's over. Let's make sure the rest of your monsters don't wake up. Rex growled in agreement, ready again despite the wounds. The girl whispered to herself, they studied predators, but they never studied humans. And for the first time, she understood why the universe feared Earth. The ruins of the academy were quiet now. The alarms had stopped and only the hum of broken lights filled the silence. Smoke drifted through holes in the ceiling where the stars glimmered faintly above. Rex sat beside his human, chest rising slow but steady. His fur was scorched, one paw injured, yet his eyes still burned gold. The human tore a strip from his sleeve and wrapped it around the wound, murmuring softly. The turquoise-skinned girl stood nearby, holding her breath as if afraid to break the moment. The instructor knelt a few steps away, staring at the remains of the alpha creature. That thing, he whispered, wasn't part of our schedule. It wasn't in any of our research files. The human didn't answer right away. He rose slowly, dusting off his hands. No, he said. It wasn't your project. It was someone else's. He walked toward the damaged console and reconnected his wristband. Data flickered in alien script. The girl stepped closer. You can read that? He gave a faint smile. Better than your system can hide it. Lines of encrypted code scrolled across the hologram. A single logo appeared, not from the Academy, but from the Galactic Research Council. The human's expression hardened. He turned the screen toward them. This isn't an accident. Your council ordered the creation of a synthetic apex predator, a living weapon. They used DNA from a dozen death worlds, including Earth. The instructor's skin turned pale gray. That's forbidden. We don't merge apex strains. It's madness, madness, the human repeated softly. It's politics. The council wanted control over something they didn't understand. They thought if they used fragments of Earth's predators, they could build a creature that obeyed them. He pointed toward the dead alpha. That was your proof. And your punishment, the girl's voice shook. You came here to stop it, the human nodded once. Earth sent me when we intercepted the signal. We warned the council not to touch our ecosystems. They didn't listen. Rex shifted beside him, growling low. The human crouched, resting a hand on the predator's head. Didn't we, buddy? The girl's expression softened as she looked at them. There was something powerful about the quiet connection between them. Not master and beast, but soldier and brother. The instructor stepped forward, still shaking. What will you do now? The human looked at the console again. There's still one more signal active. The council's backup copy. It's transmitting from orbit. They'll try again, somewhere else. And they'll send a retrieval team here soon. Retrieval? The girl repeated. He nodded. To erase evidence. Everyone here! Her eyes widened. Then we need to leave, now! He didn't move. I'll stay long enough to wipe the system clean. You take the students and go. No, she said quickly. You'll die, the human smiled faintly. Maybe, but Earth has a rule. We finish what we start. Rex stood, growling as if agreeing. The girl clenched her fists. You can't fight an entire orbital team alone. He raised an eyebrow. Who said I'm fighting alone? Before she could answer, Rex's eyes flashed blue again, linked to the human's wristband. Across the damaged floor, tiny metallic spheres rolled from the human's pack, lighting up one by one. They hovered in the air, humming softly. Drones? The instructor asked, stunned. Earth tech, the human said, smart enough to listen. Angry enough to help. He gave a short whistle. The drones spread out, forming a glowing perimeter around the wrecked chamber. Blue energy lines connected them, sealing off the remains of the lab. The girl stared. You planned this? He looked up at the ceiling, eyes reflecting the faint starlight. Planning doesn't save you on Earth. Preparation does. A loud boom echoed from above. The sound of descending ships. The retrieval team had arrived. Rex growled louder now, muscles tightening again despite his wounds. The girl stepped forward. Then I'm staying too. The human turned to her, half smiling. You can't fight like us? She straightened her shoulders. Maybe not, but I can learn. That made him pause. He studied her for a moment. The same curiosity he once saw in recruits before their first real fight. Finally, he nodded. "Stay behind the drones. Don't hesitate!" Rex barked once, sharp and low. The air shifted, charged with something primal. Outside, light streaked across the sky, dropships entering the atmosphere. The human looked toward them, eyes hard. "They think they can tame Earth's predators. Let's show them they were never the top of the food chain." Rex bared his teeth. The girl gripped a fallen plasma rifle, her hands trembling but ready. The first ship landed outside with a heavy metallic thud. Soldiers in armored suits began pouring out, their weapons glowing bright. The night sky burned red. The human took one slow breath, calm and steady. "Rex," he whispered, "defense pattern Omega." The predator's eyes glowed gold once more. The drone's lights intensified, forming an electric barrier that crackled like lightning. As the soldiers advanced, the human raised his weapon. Class dismissed, and then the war for silence began again. The ground trembled as the first wave of soldiers rushed through the smoke. Their armor shone silver under the flickering lights, faces hidden behind mirrored helmets. They moved in formation, confident, expecting nothing more than a cleanup. They didn't expect him. The human stood in the center of the ruined hall, rifle steady, eyes cold. Rex crouched beside him, lips curled back in a silent snarl. Around them, the air glowed with blue arcs from the floating drones, their hum growing louder, sharper. The leader of the soldiers raised a hand. "Stand down, human. By order of the Galactic Research Council, this site and all witnesses are—" He didn't finish. The human's rifle fired once. A plasma bolt hit the ground near his boots, melting the floor. "I know what your orders are," he said. "Erase the evidence. Erase the people. Same orders your council gave when Earth warned you to stop playing God." The soldiers hesitated. The leader raised his weapon. "You can't win." The human's voice dropped to a whisper. "That's what everyone says right before they lose." Then the world turned into light and noise. Rex charged first, faster than anything they had seen. He hit the front line like a thunderstorm, claws ripping through armor, teeth crushing metal. The drones followed, raining focused plasma beams across the corridor. The soldiers tried to regroup, but the human was already moving. Calm, efficient, every shot precise. The aliens weren't fighting a man. They were fighting Earth itself. Explosions shook the walls. Smoke filled the air. Every second felt stretched, heavy with sound and motion. The girl hid behind the console, firing when she could, her hands shaking. Each time she thought they would be overrun, she saw the human still standing, eyes focused, movements steady, a silhouette against fire. Rex took a blast to the shoulder but didn't slow. He leapt again, dragging two soldiers down, tail whipping like a blade. The human knelt beside him between bursts of gunfire, pressing a hand against his fur. "Not yet, partner. Almost done." The drones shifted pattern, forming a dome of light. The human tapped his wristband, entering a final command. The drones beeped in response, lights flashing red. The instructor shouted, "What are you doing?" "Finishing the job," the human said. "This station won't survive, but neither will their data." The girl's eyes widened. "You're detonating the core," he nodded. "They can rebuild walls, not knowledge. The next time someone thinks about breeding death, they'll remember this place." Rex limped to his side, blood dark against his fur. The human looked down, voice soft. "We go together, right?" Rex pressed his head against his knee, tail tapping once. The girl ran to him, tears cutting through dust on her face. "Come with us." "You don't have to die." He smiled faintly. "Everyone dies. But not everyone leaves something worth remembering." He handed her a small device, his data drive. "This has proof. Show it to the free worlds. Let them know Earth never wanted war. But if they bring it to us, they'll meet this again." She took it with shaking hands. "What about you?" He looked at the collapsing ceiling, where the stars were still visible through the cracks. "I'll buy you the time to run." The girl didn't argue. She turned, pulling the instructor with her toward the evac tunnels. As they disappeared into the smoke, the human turned to Rex. "Ready?" Rex growled low, eyes bright gold in the darkness. The soldiers regrouped for one final push, unaware the drone's lights had turned from blue to crimson. The human raised his rifle, aimed at the ceiling, and fired one last shot into the reactor core. Light swallowed everything. The explosion ripped through the academy, a column of fire piercing the night. The shockwave reached orbit, tearing through the retrieval ships. Then silence, vast and final. Days later, rescue fleets arrived to find nothing but a crater glowing with blue glass. Among the ruins, they found a single surviving drone still transmitting one message. Lesson complete. The data drive the girl carried reached the council within a week. When they played it, they saw footage of the human and his predator fighting together, two silhouettes against a storm. It spread across the networks faster than any news. Some called him a soldier. Some called him a monster. But most called him what he truly was, the human who walked in with his pet predator. And from that day forward, no one in the galaxy ever studied apex predators the same way again.